Sorry.
All right. Welcome to, new to the scene for The Last of Us. We talked about we're going to do this episode by episode, see how that works.
Yeah.
And then kind of after the last episode, kind of give our thoughts on the season as a whole, rather than waiting for the season to be done and doing it all that way.
Yeah.
So we'll start with episode 1, and we're going to be talking about it, and we're not giving our score ahead of time. We're going to save that for the last episode. Because since, it's essentially a mega movie.
Yes.
And why give a score for the first 10 minutes of a movie?
The prologue.
Like, this movie's going well. 3. Or whatever. So...
Spoil alert for Nick's opinion. Kidding.
Be warned that this episode is a spoiler review.
Yes.
Just the first episode.
Of the first episode.
Yeah, and-
I'll keep Lance check on that.
Yes, so if you start talking about the second episode, you get smacked.
Ooh, I can smack him.
All right, look, we got to talk about these things before we turn on the camera. I did not agree to this.
That's now you're contractually obligated.
I didn't sign shit.
No, I signed it
It's
for
a verbal contract. It's legally binding in some states.
You can smack me. I'm going to bite you.
I bite back.
Oh, shit.
All right, so episode 1, you have been warned.
All right.
So what are your guys' first impressions of The Last of Us so far?
Oh my. I'm just a little obsessed. Just a little. And by a little, I mean like it's hit full on like Game of Thrones, other shows that I get mega obsessed over. I'm searching out stuff just to kind of get impressions. I'm searching out I'm just obsessed. I've watched it, the first episode. I've only watched it twice, but I want to watch it again. I feel like there's a lot of hits. And I've even already started, like, I picked up on little theories, I think, of how what was the catalyst for the infection, which I saw a bunch of stuff in the first episode that it kind of really helped hone that in.
Okay.
And I am really looking forward to seeing if we ever get any kind of verification on that. But I'm loving it. It feels like the game, but done in a way that is obviously not the game.
Which I guess is of note is that I've never played the game, but I know key beats of the story. You've played the game, and I think you watched the game?
Watched the game because I am too much of a coward to play the game myself.
But you watched his playing.
Yes, I did.
Of the
And
game.
that means that as he was doing something, I was sitting there biting my nails, but then if he screws up and dies, I can just laugh because I wasn't the one who messed up.
So you're not, unfortunately, you're not going to get a perspective of someone who has, like, no idea what's going to happen in the
Yes.
show. I know beats.
He knows the major beats that are needed to know if
to ruin the show for you.
yeah.
It's going to be fun because, like we said, watched the game, played the game, has not watched the game, but he is a citizen of the internet.
Yeah, you're going to catch bits of it.
Yeah.
So I think what's going to be fun about it, though, is that I think you know a lot of the beats, but I have a feeling there are still going to be a lot of curveballs for you along the road.
Maybe.
So, but my first impression. Oh, sorry.
No. I was going to ask you what your first impression was.
My first impressions of the show is it's off to a super, super good start. Oh my God, Pedro Pascal is amazing. The girl that played Sarah, Nico Parker initially, that girl. I swear to God, if I didn't know the show when the twist came in the first episode, I would have been completely floored because she is so good.
No, she was very excellent.
Yeah, I would have wanted her to go the entire duration of the show. I'm at least hoping they pull her back in flashbacks or something because that girl,
very, very likely,
very talented. The gentleman who played Tommy, we didn't get a lot of screen time with him, but man,
Gabriel Luna.
Yeah, he was really, really good. And then, of course, you have Ellie.
Bella Ramsey, aka Liana Mormont.
Yeah, the bear S. The casting, awesome. The tone, awesome. The gravity of the show, awesome. I hope they can keep this tempo up. I really do, and I think they're off to a really great start. How about you? Bah. Yada yada yada.
Me. I don't really care.
Yeah.
Like the beginning part was interesting, like them talking about like this talk show from like '68 or
Yeah.
whatever. I'm like, okay, that's kind of interesting. And then they do like the opening bit. I'm like, okay, I'm kind of invested. And they start going back to like Boston. And I'm like, I don't give a shit about anything that's going on here. It's like, check out this character. I'm like, yeah, I don't give a fuck about that character. And check out this character. I'm like, yeah, I don't really give a fuck.
Okay. All right.
You put me in a post-apocalyptic show, and they're like, please care about my these characters in this post-apocalyptic world. And I'm like, not going to do it.
Yeah.
Tough shit. I'm not going to do it.
And that's the crux, I think, of The Last of Us compared to like other like zombie-esque post-apocalypse of like, say, The Walking Dead. The only other franchise you really could compare it to from TV. And The Walking Dead, you watch a society deconstructs because what's his name?
Rick Grimes.
Rick was only in the hospital for like a month.
Cool.
He showed up like a month or two like, after the world was starting.
Things had already started to collapse, but society hadn't fully collapsed. There were pockets of actual society, but there was a lot of death. The Last of Us we're not going to show you the de-evolution of society. We're just going to throw you into this is what happens to society after 20 years of living in this hellhole.
Yeah, the Walking Dead is like zombies are popping up, and we hope that we could survive. Last of Us is like we're gonna hop 20 years in the future. Hope is gone. Hope no longer lives here. People are just surviving. The part of this episode, the first episode, that really drilled it home for me that like hope is dead is when they're throwing the people into the pit, and Joel goes up to the federal soldier, and goes, is there any other work? And he's like, there's this, and then there's the sewers. And he goes, which one pays more? And the soldier goes, that'd be the one with the shit. And Joel just goes, like, it just, there's no hope in this world at all.
Yeah. They're
just resigned. They're just breathing, walking people, and then, you get a glimmer of a light. But for those that aren't super familiar with the show, basically this fungus gets out of control and starts going from people to people. I'm sure that most people know the major beats. I really shouldn't have to explain this, because if anybody's searching for this, they should already know.
No, you don't need to explain that.
You don't explain the show. It's spoiler review for the first episode.
Yeah.
So, they watched it.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
But like
we still warned you though if you didn't.
But speaking about the fungus, one thing that I noticed in the first episode, which really caught my attention in the first viewing, was they kept bringing up bread or flour food items, and I felt like that seems like excessive. The first reference was the pancake mix that the Miller household did not have. It's like, okay, but then it was like, you want these biscuits? And, and then it's like, let's make cookies. Oh, I forgot the cake. And it's just like, it's a lot. And it's I guess because I was a little spoiled from the game, I know that there was a news article in the game that said there was contaminated food in the food supply from South America.
Okay.
So I was like, well, I know that was an article that was in the Austin, I think is where it was the first city.
I don't remember.
I think it was Austin, Texas. But Sarah reads that in the newspaper in the first game, in the prologue. So I remembered that. And so I'm like, okay, but it was, I think, from Brazil in the game. Because that's where the fungus originates in the actual world, it's a fungus in Brazil. But it was like, okay. So when they started doing that, I was like, okay, well, they keep on bringing up bread. And it seemed like the Miller household wasn't eating bread.
Yeah.
And then the Adler household with the creepy ass grandma.
Yeah, was getting stuffed bread. But they also explained that she was going to the hospital too.
Yeah.
So maybe it got picked up there
from
hospital food.
Well, it's also the thing of, it's like, I was going to make you pancakes. I forgot to pick up the mix. Pew. You want some biscuits? No, we don't have time. Pew. I'm going to make cookies. Chocolate chip, raisin. Pew. Like, it's such super narrow misses.
Yeah.
But like when the guy's like, you want a biscuit? He's literally breaking a biscuit apart and shoving it in her mouth.
And I picked up on that, so I was like, I feel like maybe they're like hinting it's the flour.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, that's cool. I like that. I can dig on that because it's stuff that they don't ever truly confirm in game, other than there was contaminated food sources from Brazil that had mold. It was referenced in an article. That's all we had in the game.
Actually, now that you've said that, I think you're onto something with the hospital thing, because if the grandma was eating the biscuit and she was the first one to get infected, like that guy was eating it too.
But she's also old, and
She's also more old, frail, and has a probably weaker immune system, making it allowing the fungus probably to take root faster.
Okay.
and then she killed them before it could have mattered, or it could have been at the hospital.
Yeah.
It could have been tainted hospital food or tainted medicine in the hospital.
I got bit.
And they're just kind of being like, "Look, it's the bread." And they're going to be like, "Haha, I gotcha."
But I will go on record in saying that the one person or entity in the first episode that was both the smartest, bravest, and bestest boy in the world was
geez.
Mercy. He got out of that house. He refused to go back. And I live in a delusional world that he lived a safe, happy life until he died of a nice old age in his sleep.
Okay, great. I'm glad you didn't make me put that out. That 20 years went by, that dog is dead.
Hey, he can die, but he dies peacefully in his sleep, happy, safe, and alive. You know, safe from the evil creatures that he knew was there. And then Sarah still went in the house. Listen to the dog.
Yeah, I'll say that the show's not rooted in reality, because if I would have walked outside, saw like shit going down, saw the front door open, walked in the house, the second my foot would have touched that butt, I've been like, nope, turn around and walked back out, been like, doot, 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 911. I
Second
think
that the
something's
neighbor's
going on.
dog was scratching and frantic in my house, I would have just pulled into my house like, okay, we'll just go hide under a bed.
Well, I mean, I think about the neighbors that I have around me right now, and if like that shit went down and I walked over to my neighbor's house and was like, hello, I'm sure you're fine. Say something if you're okay. You sound good. But yeah, the thing that I can't get over, and I know that like Neil Druckmann, I think is the
Druckerman, I think.
Druckmann or something like that. I know that he's basically directing and everything on this particular show, so they're keeping it true to the game. But man, are they keeping it true to the game? I'm having serious PTSD as this episode goes along of like some of the stuff that happens where I'm like, that's straight out of the game. And I told her as soon as we started watching the first episode, I said, I want to see help actions. I want to see little things that happen that, you know, alert them to the zombies. They're doing a new thing that we'll talk about in the next episode. And we'll talk about, I think we should talk about some of the differences.
We can bring up the differences as they're pertinent.
Right. I mean, I know y'all are both like holding your breath waiting for me to be like, something from episode 2. No, I'm going to hold that back. I just want to say, you know, out front that the differences in the show and the differences from the game have been really good so far. Like
I like the airplane.
Yeah. Like I don't feel like they're stepping over the line with some of the changes they're made. I think the changes they've made have been just right, because if you tried to literally make a frame-by-frame make of the video game, a season would be like, I don't know, the first, 13, 14 hours of the game? And that shit would be boring as hell, because it would just be a lot of you walking around being like, oh, I'm going to go to the store and do that. Like, no, the changes have been great. Hopefully, a lot of people out there feel the same way about it. I haven't seen a lot of bad press on the show so far.
I've not looked into what's
seen-
going on in the show at all.
I'm not trying to see the bishops of woe that are already like screaming about it.
So my initial plan was to wait until this season was done and then go back and watch it. But you're like, let's do it episode by episode. I'm like, okay. So for the most part, that first week or whatever, I was on Twitter, was just kind of like, and they're talking about whatever, and just kind of scrolling on by or whatever, and just avoiding it. And then I only watched the first episode last night. And honestly, I'm not super interested in looking up to see what people are thinking about it.
The only thing I've been paying attention to is I've been looking at the IMDb scores just to see, and I know that's not a good metric, but still, it's better than a lot of what you're able to get off the internet. But
I think you need for IMDb, you need time for the score to settle. Mm-hmm. Because the people who are going to go review the first episode
are going to bomb shit out of it.
Are going to be the ones that want to like oh, just watch the episode as it came out. Like, I gotta go let people know what I think about it. Oh my God, this game's amazing, 10 out of 10, and just kind of or like this is completely untrue to the show, 1 out of 10, and you're just getting flooded. You need to let people flow into it naturally that have never heard of the game. Watch it on HBO and just be like, oh, okay, it was pretty good, or whatever, and
Yeah.
then go and level the score out and make it.
Marinate on it a little bit.
Just give enough people out there that aren't going 10 to 1. I have a feeling this game's getting more, or this show's getting more 10s than 1s.
I mean, it really is like there's loving care in this, and it just goes to prove when you had stuff like Star Wars and you had the Transformers movies that came out, when people that don't care about the property and they're only worried about money are in control of it, they're not great, and they're not, most of the times they're not even good. If you have someone that is actually invested in the storyline and wants to make something like really worth watching, it pays off for the fans and it pays off for the people who are just coming into it. So that's my take of it. I gotta say, and I know Neil Druckmann's watching this, dude. You're doing a great job. By the way, Team Abby.
So, is there any, I don't know, individual things we want to pull out from episode 1, or we want to keep these trimmed and kind of
I
just...
think we should try to keep them trimmed.
Well, I'll go ahead and say that the girl who plays Abby, she's fantastic. Or not Abby. The girl who plays
Ellie,
she's fantastic. I had a little bit of worry about her in the beginning, but listening to her, like, she even sounds.
She sounds kind of
Like
like
Ellie.
Ashley Johnson in some of her deliveries. It's fun.
And I kind of like how much of an asshole she is. I like the relationship between Joel and Ellie right now. Tess is fantastic. Like, I can't talk enough about the casting of this show. Like, these performers are fucking great. Like, it's fantastic. I hate to sound like I'm just sitting here blowing the show the entire time, but like, this
I
is
wish my name was The Last of Us.
Right. No, it's really good. I wish we can have more shows like this that people give a shit about when they're making it. So, we'll see how it ends up, but I'm going to go ahead and call it right now. The first season's going to be fucking stellar.
All right, so I guess keep watching for our upcoming thoughts on episode 2 and 3 and 4 and so forth, up to 9.
8, 9, and then it was going to be 10, but they HBO told them to combine episodes 1 and 2 effectively.
Okay.
Because
Hence why the first episode was like an hour and 20 minutes.
Because the first episode was going to end where Joel tosses the body of the little kid into the pit, and it was going to end there. And they were like, "No, you need to bring Ellie into this." They wanted the Ellie connection.
All right.
They wanted to bring Ellie into the first episode, and where it ended before, where it was a poignant bookend to the start of Joel's story, where it was and the infection began, and where it it picks back up.
You end with him cradling his daughter, like, oh my god, like, this is so important, to just tossing a kid in the fire.
So I think that's also why you had they still managed to make that kind of poignant connection with his daughter at the end of it, the revised episode, by saying, oh well, he beat the crap or killed that man with his bare fists, as he had a PTSD flashback of his daughter's death.
So I know we said we were going to keep these a little shorter, but like, this is, to me, a little too short. So I'll bring up a few things that I thought was fantastic.
It's not too short.
It's not too short.
We're mainly talking about how we like the show and how we like the actors. We haven't really talked about like beats in the show.
We don't need to talk about beats in the show. People have watched the show.
Get in the comments.
If it's a beat that's like, man, this is really important to me, is one thing. But just to say this happened in the show, they can go watch it.
Yeah.
So it depends. Are you bringing up a point that you think is important to you? Or are you bringing it up because, this is neat?
Stay tuned for our next 5-minute episode where we go, it was good. All right, bye.
Well, so, I mean, you're bringing up, like, I really liked how this mirrored the game, and, like, I really like how this actor is, like, well, Marlene or whatever, is it the same actress from the video game? Like, bring up bigger points. Don't just be like...
Did we say that already?
No.
We almost missed that. I saved the video.
They said it in the... Like, I watched the first episode, and at the end they started playing more. It's like I skipped past the credits. It seems like coming up on this season. I'm like, okay.
45.
We've actually not watched any of those.
And then after that, they kind of like were talking about the first episode.
Yeah.
And
they did a behind the scenes.
I've been avoiding those too.
Yeah, we actually avoided all of the next coming up next, just because since we have seen the game info and
It'll give you an idea of how far it goes into the
yeah,
game.
and so it leaves us a little bit of mystery of what's coming up in the next episode, which we thought would be interesting to kind of give ourselves a seclusion.
Yeah, I'm trying to keep myself in as much of a bubble as I can. But
So I would think the only question for episode 1 is, do you suggest people watch week by week? Or would you tell them to wait till episode 9 is out and bulk watch it?
I would say watch week by week, but I am kind of obsessed with what they're doing with this. I think it's great, and it's hitting all my lore nerd critiques.
I say yes to both. Watch it week by week, and then I know what we're going to do. We're going to watch it week by week, and then once it's all out there, we're going to binge the entire show.
Yeah, not me. I think it's a bulk watch, except for the fact that it's going to get spoiled for you. But if it's already been spoiled for you, I would just bulk watch it.
I feel like they're going to change enough where it's going to be like,
I know the important beats, and if they change the important beats, which I don't think they would, because that would ruin what the game is.
yeah. I mean, it's the whole cordyceps thing, like the way they're doing it now, I think is pretty interesting. The fact that they got rid of the spores in the air. At first, I was kind of like, okay, I'm not sure about that. But once I heard the explanation for it, it makes a lot of sense.
You want to show the actor's face? Cover it up. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, but you don't want. I don't want to hear them being like, all right, spores.
That's what ADR is for.
Well, okay, fine, but still.
I think after The Mandalorian, when they were like, okay, and Pedro and the show, we're going to have you cover up your face all the time. He's like, no, they would see my face.
That
is
good
quite
point.
possibly one of the reasons why that change was made. But I mean, I don't dislike the tendrils, because the tendrils
That's a good
that
point.
they showed out of Grandma Adler's mouth, oh, those were gross and creepy.
Well, I also like how she was just like, and then once she had the cordyceps, that bitch was moving. Like that's
Well, her brain was idle, not her body.
well, yeah, but it's like still like she was in a wheelchair, so you would imagine like the
Also,
musculature
I
and
would,
everything.
Yeah.
I'd also assume that a fungus doesn't have to worry about if it's
If it hurts or not.
if it's gonna like crack the cartilage or whatnot. Like if it pops a bone out of the socket, go ahead.
Yeah,
Or
who
you know,
gives a care?
You still got to keep the vehicle moving. Like it even said that, like
don't.
it tries to. Well, the guy in the beginning, the scientist at the beginning said you want to try and keep your host alive. You
Yeah,
want to try
but
and keep
you
it
can't-
well.
But that also, it talked about how they eat the host too. So
yeah, and let's be real. Most likely, I'm going to assume that tendrils of the fungus are going through it, and those are what's really moving it, not necessarily the muscles.
That's all, and also
So-
the point is to spread. Because you're a living creature. Once you have bred, your life is done.
Pretty much, yeah.
So I mean, hence why, like all these problems come up in the human body, and people are like, well, how come these things keep coming up in humans? Because they happen after people would be old enough to have children, and evolution doesn't care about that
Yeah, that's true.
because you lived long enough to have children. That's not a part of the body that is being selected for anymore.
The worst part about it is, and like the most frightening thing is, when those scientists were talking about that in the beginning, I know that's supposed to be like set up for the show, but like that dude was like spitting straight truth.
Yeah.
Like it's hot now.
Yeah.
It can't live in the human body.
Yeah.
With, it, like
But what happens if the world heats up?
yeah, like
That's why this is, in my opinion, successful horror. The best horror is where you can make something that seems credibly believable and put it into somebody's head and then let that person's own mind sell it to the rest of the body. Basically, horror is best if you give people seeds and you let their creativity, imagination, or just thoughts run wild with these seeds. And that's what that opening monologue did. It's like, not only is it setting up the seeds for the game, but it's like, hey guys, this is a real world fungus and the world is heating up. Is this plausible science fiction at this point? Is this, who knows?
20 years from now, we're going to be sitting somewhere and it's going to be like, cordyceps people are going to be running around biting people. And we're going to be like, huh, okay.
Let's be real, I'm going to
We're-
die in
yeah,
a
we're not-
cordyceps
we're not gonna
apocalypse.
Especially if it comes in bread.
I love bread.
Oh my God, this Domino's so good. Bread's infected in South Carolina area.
I mean, I already had half of it.
and let's be real, you
No
know,
fear.
we've already lived through one global pandemic, and we saw how well our country handled said global pandemic.
Just don't.
So, you know, we're not going to address any of that stuff, but just know we saw how people treat that kind of stuff in our country, so we're screwed.
Yeah. No, we had a good run. So,
Did we though? Did we?
We had a run.
I like that one better.
All right. So we wrap this one up.
Yes.
All right. Join us for episode 2, coming immediately afterwards, and then join us in a week for episode 3.
See you then.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.